In the 1330s, a Dominican monk named Henry Suso began a terrifying experiment. He didn't just pray, he designed a leather garment studded with 150 brass nails, points turned inward toward his skin. For 16 years he wore this torture suit day and night, adding spiked gloves so he couldn't scratch the wounds in his sleep. To a modern observer, this looks like madness or pathology. But if we look closer, through the lenses of anthropology, psychology, and biology, we find something far more complex. Suso wasn't just hurting himself, he was attempting to hack the human hardware to reach a different level of consciousness. Anthropologically, we have to understand that in the 14th century, the body wasn't seen as private property. It was a cultural site. In the medieval mind, there was no sharp divide between the inside soul and the outside skin. Suso practiced what scholars call somatic piety. This wasn't about being a victim. It was about being an ascetic athlete. By carving the name of Jesus into his chest or piercing his skin, he was literally scripting his faith into his biology. In his world, physical pain was a form of currency, a way to pay for spiritual clarity. By suffering like Christ, he was signaling his devotion, not just to God, but to a community that viewed the sacred body as a holy text. Psychologically, Suso was engaging in a radical form of cognitive restructuring. The human brain is hardwired to avoid pain, but Suso used pain to destroy the ego. He called this spiritual detachment. When you are in constant low-level pain from 150 nails, the petty distractions of life, envy, hunger, pride, simply vanish. The brain is forced to prioritize. Suso was using what we might now call extreme sensory deprivation through sensory overload. By making his physical existence unbearable, he forced his mind to retreat into an inner spiritual landscape. He wasn't trying to fill pain. He was using pain as a wall to shut out the world. Now let's look at the biology of the mystical brain. This is where it gets really fascinating. Biologically, Suso was manipulating his nervous system. When the body experiences chronic controlled trauma, it releases a flood of endorphins and dopamine, the body's natural painkillers. In a monastic cell, without the distractions of modern life, this neurochemical cocktail creates ecstasy. Modern neuroscience shows that intense physical stimuli can quiet the default mode network, the part of the brain responsible for our sense of self. When that network goes dark, people report feeling one with the universe or present with God. Suso's leather suit was a biological trigger for an altered state of consciousness. He was essentially using nails and leather to jumpstart his brain's internal pharmacy. So in conclusion, the most telling part of Suso's story is how it ended. After years of this, he reported a vision where God told him his physical school was over. He threw the leather suit into a river and moved toward a path of the spirit. He realized that the body was just the doorway. Whether we call it somatic piety, psychological detachment, or neurochemical regulation, Henry Suso's story reminds us that the human body has always been the primary laboratory for exploring the limits of the human soul. He didn't just wear a suit of nails, he wore a map to another world.